You ever wonder if one person with just one single idea can actually change the destiny of an entire country? I mean, it sounds like the plot of a movie, right? Well, today, we're going to talk about a story that proves it's not just possible, it's a real-world blueprint for making an incredible impact. So, let's keep that question front and center. How can one person change the future of a nation? We're about to meet a man who saw his country heading for a crisis, and instead of just watching, he did something about it. And he ended up starting a revolution in reading, saving, and even planting trees. All right, so to really get just how big of a deal this whole thing was, you have to understand the problem they were facing. Let's go back in time to Sri Lanka in the middle of the 20th century. Okay, look at this. It's pretty shocking. In 1960, Sri Lanka had the second highest literacy rate in all of Asia. That's a huge point of pride. But then, just 2 decades later, they had plummeted down to 9th place. A whole generation was basically at risk of being left in the dark. So, what on earth happened? Well, this right here is a massive clue. Think about this. In the entire history of the country, fewer than 400 children's books had ever been published. I mean, how are you supposed to build a nation of readers if kids have nothing to read? The fundamental tools were just missing. So when you have a crisis this big, you need a response that's just as bold. And that response came from one man, a visionary, who believed that books could be the key to unlocking his country's entire future. And here he is. Meet Dr. Dhammadesha Ambalampitiya. In 1981, he creates the Colombo Children's Book Society, the CCBS. And their goal? It was so clear, so simple, but so incredibly ambitious. Improving literacy for a better future. You see, he wasn't just trying to sell books. He was trying to build a nation. And this wasn't just some feel-good project. It was a seriously strategic operation. Dr. Ambalampitiya rolled out a 5-year plan. And it's brilliant, really. You start at home with the parents. Then you get the official stamp of approval from the government. Step 3, you take it directly to the kids in schools. And finally, you track your results so you know what's working and how to grow. Genius. But here's where the story gets really interesting. What started as a mission to get kids reading, it just kept growing. The CCBS realized that to create a well-rounded person, reading is just the start. You also need to know how to handle money, and you need to feel connected to the world around you. First up, they had to make books accessible. See, there was this monopoly that was keeping the price of a children's book at 40 rupees, which was way too expensive for most families. So the CCBS, with a little advice from UNESCO, just shattered that monopoly. They started making high-quality books for only 10 rupees. All of a sudden, reading wasn't a luxury anymore. It was for everyone. And the impact, it was immediate, and it was huge. Remember that number from before? Fewer than 400 books in the country's entire history? Well, in just the first 10 years of the CCBS, they published around 2,000 new children's books. That's a 5-fold explosion in just a decade. They completely transformed the literary landscape. So, with the book crisis under control, Dr. Ambalampitiya turned to pillar number 2, financial literacy. He came up with this truly revolutionary idea called the Sisu Udana savings account. He basically proved to the banks that all the small, regular deposits from thousands of kids could be just as stable and reliable as one big fixed deposit from an adult. This was a total game changer for banking. And would you just look at the result? The program was a wild success. Kids all over the country deposited a mind-boggling 40 crore rupees. That's $400 million into these accounts. This taught a whole generation how to save and manage money, and it created the country's first ever national children's banking system. Then came the third pillar, which connected personal growth to the health of the planet. And the idea behind it was just so simple and beautiful. One plant for every child. It was a hands-on way to teach responsibility, to teach kids about the environment, and to show them the power of nurturing something over the long term. And the scale of this thing is just breathtaking. Through this program and others, the CCBS was behind the planting of over 1 million trees across Sri Lanka. 1 million! They were literally changing the physical landscape of their country, one kid and one tree at a time. Now, when you're making waves this big and impact this profound, it's not going to stay a local secret for long. The rest of the world started to sit up and take notice of the incredible things happening in Sri Lanka. And the praise started rolling in.
In 1988, a top expert from UNESCO, Dr. Bruce Cahill, visited and was just blown away. He called it giant works and said he'd never seen anything like it in any other country he'd been to. I mean, that's some serious validation from a global authority.
And that validation just opened up the floodgates. Dr. Ambalampitiya went from winning UNESCO's biggest award to meeting the legendary Nelson Mandela to having dinner at the White House with President Bill Clinton. And his journey just kept going, culminating in 2020 when he was named the world's best environmentalist. It's an absolutely incredible trajectory. So after 4 decades of nonstop work, what's the legacy? Well, it's not just one thing. It's this incredible multi-generational ripple effect that is still shaping Sri Lankan society today. Let's just break it down. Over 800 reading clubs established, more than 1,500 new authors trained and inspired, a national banking system for kids that became the new standard, and of course over 1 million trees in the ground, and even special eco-units created within the police force. The impact is just so tangible, so real, and so widespread. So, what can we all take away from this amazing story? Well, first, that one person with a clear vision really can spark a massive movement. Second, sometimes when you set out to solve one big problem, like literacy, you stumble upon the solutions to other huge problems along the way. And finally, that truly dedicated local work can make so much noise that the entire world has to pay attention. Which kind of brings us full circle, doesn't it? The story of Dr. Ambalampitiya proves that one person can, without a doubt, change the future. And it leaves us with one last, really powerful question to chew on. What giant works, big or small, are just waiting to be started in your community, maybe even by you?